Hello, and welcome to our webinar, ABBA 2021, What Next? It's fantastic to have so many people joining us already. We're going to wait a couple more minutes to let other people join, other applicants join. You should be able to access the chat in the webinar platform, and if you're able to say hello and where you're joining us from, we really enjoy seeing all the different places that that our applicants are joining us from. The UAE we've got there, and Malaysia. Hello everyone. From Sri Lanka and Canada. Borada from the States, fabulous. And from Colombia, from India, Texas, Ethiopia, far and wide. Well, I'm happy to say it's the middle of the day here in Aberystwyth. The sun is shining. It's a beautiful, beautiful day. There's the birds are cheeping and the dolphins are jumping. It's a fantastic day over here. As you can see, some of us are still working from home, but students are back in classes. The term is kind of finishing up now. From Nigeria and the Gambia. Hello from Chile and France and Sri Lanka. Yes, students are finishing up their classes now, so they're all starting to go home for the summer. But a lot of us are still working from home, so that we make sure that space is as empty as possible on the campus. But as you can see, we've got Rosa here in the corner as well, who's our Visas and Immigration Officer. She's working from home as well, but Jackie is in the office. So I think we can probably get started and kick off. It's, like I say, it's so great to see everybody, or rather see all your messages here. My name's Harriet. I'm Head of International Recruitment and Development here at Aberystwyth University. I'll hand over to Rosa to introduce herself.
Hello, I'm Rosa Soto. I'm the International Student Advisor, and I can help you apply for your student visas, and that's what we will be looking at later on.
And Jackie as well.
Oh, yes. So hi, I've recognized quite a few of the names in the chat. For those of you that don't know me, I am Jackie. I am the Regional Officer for the Americas and Norway. And I'm here to relate my own student experience from when I was a student just last year, and also to talk about what's going to happen next.
Thanks, Jackie. And we'll have a couple of people from our admissions teams joining us as well. Hopefully the head of undergraduate admissions and the head of postgraduate admissions. There will be the opportunity to ask any questions that you have at the end of the presentation as well. But before we start off with the presentation, we've actually got a couple of polls for you. So a couple of questionnaires. So the first one, there should be a section on your webinar platform where you can see there's a question about whether you have any concerns about studying in Aberystwyth. And if so, what is your biggest concern? So the options there are applying for your visa, the possible quarantine or self-isolating when you arrive, if you're worried that you might miss home, or struggling with your academic studies if you think that it's going to be very different to what you're used to, or you've got no worries, you're going to have a great time. So let us know what your thoughts are and if anything's worrying you at all. It's interesting to see that applying for my visa is the top runner at the moment. So it's a good job we've got Rosa here to help.
I know Rosa was definitely a lifeline when I was a student. So
it's a very complicated process, isn't it? It's almost it's straightforward when you know what the process is. Once you've got your head around it, it's very easy. But there's quite a lot of bits to get your head around. So it is useful to take the advice that we have. And quite a lot of people concerned about quarantining and self-isolating, which is understandable. Hopefully we'll go through that a bit later on. The difficulty at the moment is, of course, that things are changing all the time, and regulations that are in place one day, a couple of weeks later, they change their mind, and other regulations are put into place. So it's difficult to know exactly what the case will be when we come to September. But generally speaking, I mean, personally, I'm very positive about it all. I think we can go through the details a bit later. You know, self-isolation and quarantine is something that most students will have to do, but it was the same situation last year, and all our students last year did it, and it was all fine. We didn't have any issues, which is fantastic. Okay, great. So we've got another poll now, and I think that's going to change. We've got Andy in the background here doing all the technical bits. So the next question for you all is, what are you most looking forward to about studying in Aberystwyth? So is it going to be learning from leading academics in your subject area? Is it discovering new subjects or hobbies that interest me? So things that you never knew you were going to be interested in, and suddenly you realise that it's your new favourite thing to do. Immersing yourself in a completely new culture. Having enhanced career opportunities after graduation. Or eating ice cream on the promenade with all of your new friends. I see that one's not a very popular option, but I promise you the ice cream is really good. So fantastic to hear that learning from leading academics in the subject area is winning there. And career opportunities. As you can see, Jackie, as a recent graduate herself, had benefited from the enhanced career opportunities.
I mean, I would say so, yes.
Fantastic. Well, great. It looks like learning from leading academics in your subject area is the most exciting thing that you're looking forward to. And that's fantastic because, as I'm sure you all know, a lot of our academics are, you know, some of the most prominent researchers in their fields. You know, they're the ones writing the textbooks that people learn from. So you're sort of doing your studies, going to the library and researching and finding out that the books you're reading about were actually written by the people that are teaching you. Fabulous. And I'm glad to see at least one or two people are excited about eating the ice cream. That's great. Okay, so I think what we'll do now is we're going to turn the chat function off now, and we're going to go through the presentation. So I'm going to talk a bit. Rose is going to talk a bit. We'll have our admissions officers, heads of admissions, talking to you a bit as well. Jackie is going to give you a bit of an overview on the student experience. And then we'll have questions or time for questions at the end of the session as well. Fantastic. So this webinar is all about what happens after your application. So obviously you've all made your applications now, and what is it that you need to do next? What will you need to do in the run up to September and October when the course actually starts? So as you just met us all, I'm Harriet. David Moyle is the Assistant Registrar, so the Head of Undergraduate Admissions. He'll hopefully be joining us later. Helen has joined us, and hopefully her connection issues all go away and she stays with us. So Helen will be here in a bit. You can see everybody's email addresses there. So anything to do with undergraduate admissions is UG admissions. Anything for postgraduate admissions is PG admissions. Rosa just joined us then. Her email address is immigrationadvice@aber.ac.uk. And of course, you can contact Jackie and myself through the international@aber.ac.uk email addresses. So as I said, we're going to go through the application checklist, talk a bit about applying for your accommodation. So you've probably looked into all of that already, but we'll go through some details. We'll go over finalising your application, so depending on whether it's undergraduate or postgraduate, your CAS, so your confirmation of acceptance for studies, and then your visa application. We'll go over COVID-19 and our plans for September, our plans for the beginning of term, and sort of, what the situation is now, what happened last year, and hopefully we can kind of make an educated guess as to what will happen in October. Then we can go through to the international experience and thinking about further updates and how you can get involved more in the run-up to starting term. So your application checklist, thanks for making me smaller there, Andy. So obviously you've all made your applications already. You've got your offers. So the first section, of course, is to make your application. You've done that. You've then received your decision. So most of you will probably have conditional offers. So they will be offers based on the condition that you meet the entry requirements. So that's the academic entry requirements, and sometimes the English language requirements, and any other conditions that are there in your offer. And one of the really important things to do, if you haven't done it already, is to accept your offer. So if you applied through UCAS, make sure you go through to UCAS track and click that you accept the offer, so that you make it your firm choice or your insurance choice. And if you applied directly, then you need to make sure that you've returned your offer reply form. So if you applied directly or actually through Common App, you should have received an offer reply form. Fill that in and return it to undergraduate or postgraduate admissions. And then the next stage will be to apply for your accommodation. So some of you might have done that already. The application portal opened in April, so a lot of you will have already done this. I'm going to go through now to a video, and hopefully Andy in the background can put the video forward about the International Accommodation Award. And a lot of you will have seen this video already, but it sort of explains easily how the International Accommodation Award works. Great, thanks, Andy. So the music there, I've watched that video so many times. The music almost sort of washes over me and makes me feel very relaxed for some reason, which is great. So to go over that again, hopefully the video made it clear, but obviously with the International Accommodation Award, if you are paying international tuition fees, then you have the option of either choosing Court Mauer accommodation, and there will be no cost to that, or you can choose any other campus housing, so any other housing that's on our campus, and there'll be a £2,000 discount. So the Court Mauer accommodation is our basic accommodation, but it's still single rooms. You have a shared bathroom and a shared kitchen. And then for the other campus housing, you can choose to have accommodation which has private bathrooms or private kitchens, depending on what you prefer. So you'll need to go to the website, so www.aber.ac.uk/accommodation. You'll need to log into the accommodation portal with your details, so with your student number, and then the option of Court Mauer or other campus accommodation will come up. The other option, of course, is if you prefer not to live on campus and you don't want to take advantage of the International Accommodation Scholarship, the award, you can live in private accommodation. So in which case you'll be able to find private landlords or private flats or houses. We have a lot of companies that are recommended through the accommodation team, so you can get in touch with the accommodation team and they'll give you the information and the details to find private accommodation. Unfortunately, we can't offer any sort of financial support for those private accommodation, but if you want on-campus housing, then the offer is there. So as you saw, you can see the sea kind of on the left-hand side there. That's where the main town is, down at the bottom of the hill. And then you've got the campus and all of the campus accommodation up there on the top of the hill. So you can see all the accommodation is right next to the campus. It's maybe a 5-10 minute walk, depending on how quick you walk, into all of your classes. And if you can see just down at the front there, there's that big building. That's the National Library of Wales. And I went up there for the first time the other day, and the view from the front of the library is absolutely beautiful. So it's a good place to be, excellent views. Again, as it said in the video, with our accommodation on campus, you get free platinum gym membership. There's 24-hour security, all your bills and Wi-Fi are included. You don't need to pay anything extra at all. And these are some pictures of some of the accommodation. Okay, so moving on to the next section, which is finishing off your application. So sending in your final results, receiving your unconditional offer, and sending through any final documents as well. We'll go now to this section, and I think we have Helen from postgraduate admissions who may be able to go through this, as I think we don't quite have Dave with us yet. Hi, Helen.
Hi, nice to see you. Nice to see everybody. And apologies for the issues I was having with the technology first at the start of the session.
It wouldn't be a webinar without some technical issues.
I have very kind colleagues of yours, Harriet, that have helped me with a new computer. So thank you very, very much for the assistance. So hello, everybody. It's great to be talking to you today. My name is Helen, and I am the Assistant Registrar for Postgraduate and Non-Standard Admissions. So my focus is very much on the postgraduate side of the admissions work, but I can just run through the slide here, which my colleague David Moyle has put together regarding the undergraduate side of our admissions work. Now, you will have applied and hopefully received a conditional or an unconditional offer from us, and congratulations on that. The job of work that now needs to happen is to complete and to meet those conditions where they've been set in order that we can finalise your admission and hopefully welcome you to Aberystwyth later in the year. So for those of you who've received a conditional offer, the conditions included may include some or all of the points that Dave's noted there. So you may need to achieve the required academic grades. We may have said to you that you need to complete your current studies with a certain level or a certain set of grades. You need to provide us with the evidence that you have done that through certificates and transcripts as detailed in your offer. We will have explained any additional documents that we might need to see. This might include a personal statement, it might include a passport copy. So have a good look at your offer and see what you need to send to us. International students are also required to provide evidence that they've met the English language entry requirement for their chosen programme. Again, the level will have been detailed in your offer, and you need to provide us with the evidence that you have met that level. If you have any questions about how you can meet the English language entry requirement, details are on our website of the tests and qualifications we accept. Do take a good look at those, because obviously we can accept the results of some of the very well-known international English tests, such as IELTS and TOEFL, but there are also qualifications from your home country and school leaving qualifications that we can consider. So do take a look at our website and see what qualifications we may be able to consider in your particular circumstances. And it may be that you need to provide us with an academic or work-related reference. So please do that as soon as you can, if that's a condition that's been set. On the other hand, if you have an unconditional offer, you've met the academic requirements of your offer, and you can see the smiley face there. So that has been done. You now just need to make sure that you return any additional documents that may be required. And as you can see on the slide, for the undergraduate applicants, all documents should be sent to ug-admissions@aber.ac.uk, and that will send them straight to the undergraduate admissions team, who can review things, can upload the necessary documents to your applicant record, and can hopefully finalise your admission very quickly. As Harriet's already noted, if you're an applicant that's made your application through UCAS, then you also need to confirm your decision on UCAS track. That is very important that you do that. If you're a direct applicant, so you've come to us through our own undergraduate admissions portal or through Common App, then you would complete and return the offer reply form. That offer reply form can be sent to that same email address, ugadmissions@aber.ac.uk. So I think that covers things on the undergraduate side. So I'll move over to the postgraduate side, which is the area of work that I cover. And again, many of the things I'm going to say are very, very similar here. If you've received a conditional offer from us, again, congratulations. I'm really pleased that you've made an application to us, and I really hope that we can work together to complete the admissions process and get you to Aberystwyth to start your postgraduate adventure with us. Your conditional offer, as on the undergraduate side, will include a variety of conditions. It may include all or just one of the points mentioned there. So again, achieve and provide evidence of the required academic grades. It may be that you already hold the qualifications and you've told them about us at the point of application, but we just need to see the official evidence of your qualifications. There'll be transcripts and certificates from your university. If we have provided you with that condition, please make sure you send those documents over as soon as possible. And if you're still waiting to graduate, as soon as possible upon your graduation. Again, provide evidence of your English language ability if that's been a requested condition of your offer. Provide an academic or work-related reference, or any other additional documentation. Now, your postgraduate offer will include details of your conditions both at the start, where the conditions are laid out at the start of your offer letter, but also in the checklist that appears on the final page of your conditional or unconditional offer. So have a good look at that. It will outline to you exactly what you'll need to do. And the checklist is quite handy because it allows you to go through and tick off those things that you've done and perhaps have in mind those things that you still need to do. We do have unconditional offers at postgraduate level. So if you've achieved an unconditional offer, congratulations on that. You will still need to submit your decision form. That's very, very important. Your financial declaration form and any other documents that we may have listed as a requirement of the offer. The decision form is a really, really important one. Please, if you haven't done so yet, I'd encourage you to return your decision form as soon as you can, because that indicates to us that you're looking to pursue your application. If you decide further down the track that Aberystwyth is not the option you wish to take, then you can withdraw that later. But we would encourage you, if you're thinking that, yes, Aberystwyth is a place for me, and I very much hope it is, we would encourage you to return your decision form as soon as you can. Your decision form and the financial declaration form, the blank documents will have been included on the email which we sent to you with your offer letter. So if you're thinking, where do I find that? It is on the email where you received your offer. So please complete those documents and return them back to us at pg-admissions@aber.ac.uk. So that's sort of a bit of a whistle-stop tour around how to meet any conditions of your undergraduate or postgraduate offer. In both cases, if you've got any questions at all, you're more than welcome to contact either the undergraduate or postgraduate admissions teams at the email addresses we've given on the slides. Our teams will be more than happy to help you with any queries you've got. And I hope we'll be in a position to welcome many of you for study with us later in the year.
That's great. Thank you so much, Helen. We now have a section about confirmation of acceptance for studies, and I think Dave has just joined us.
There he is.
There we go. Dave is our head of undergraduate admissions. I'll let him do the introductions though, and then perhaps between the two of you, you can cover off the sort of the final details for the CAS and the deposit information.
That's fine. Thanks, Harriet. Hello, everyone. Sorry, I'm a little late to speaking to you all this afternoon. Helen, would it be useful if I first just did the UG part that you've just covered on the postgraduate side?
I have rattled through that slide on your behalf.
Thank you ever so much.
That everything I said was accurate. But if there is anything that you would sense that I may have missed, then please, by all means, chip in.
Brilliant. Okay, in that case, I'll cover this side of it, given that you've covered on my behalf. Thank you ever so much, Helen. So in terms of the next stages of the CAS process, so certainly I'll get Helen to chip in with the timings for postgraduate in a second, but just specifically talking about undergraduate studies. If you've replied to your offer, so if you've applied via UCAS and you've put Aberystwyth as one of your choices through UCAS, or you've applied directly or through the Common App and returned your offer reply form to say that you'd like to take up your place, what we'll do is contact you with what we call our next steps email. So what that does is detail in there every bit of information that we need from you in order to be in a position to issue you with the draft CAS, which is your confirmation of acceptance for studies. We are hoping to have those emails sent out within the next 7 days. Ideally, it will be before that. We're just doing some final checks on various things, but we will be in a position to send those out over the next week. So if you have replied to your undergraduate offer, to say that you wish to accept it, we will be contacting you via email to detail any documents that are pending at the moment and any documents that we need in order to proceed with drafting a CAS for you. Just before I go through the documents that are needed, Helen, did you want to chip in on the postgraduate side in terms of timelines there as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. As I mentioned when we were talking about the postgraduate slide, your offer letter, whether it be conditional or unconditional for postgraduate studies, will detail all of the documents that we need from you to get you to this final stage, so the confirmation of acceptance for studies stage. So have a look, as I said, at page 1 of your offer and also at the final page of your offer. Work through that checklist. Essentially, that is what we will do on our side when administering your application in your admission. So work through, tick off and complete each of those sections. And then hopefully when we get to the point where all of those documents have been returned or conditions have been met, then that is at the point at which we can look to move for CAS offering. So my big flag for anybody with a postgraduate offer is take a look at that final checklist on the last page, work through it, get yourself to the point where each of those boxes are ticked.
Thanks, Helen. So just to run through what you can see on screen there, this in general are the main documents that we need in order to get to a position to issue the CAS. So the sooner that you can send these documents through to us, these pieces of documentary evidence, the sooner we'll be able to get to a stage of issuing with the draft CAS. I keep on referring to a draft CAS because what we'll do in the first instance is send you a draft copy of it. That's your opportunity to check through all of the details that we've put on there. So we encourage you to take a bit of time going through that, in particular looking at things like your name, the course that you've applied for, the date of birth, passport numbers, just to make sure, because there are humans involved in this process of putting this information in, occasionally some errors can creep in. So we send you the draft just to be absolutely sure that you're happy with the content that's on there. If you do pick up on anything, so let's say, I don't know, the passport number was out by 1 digit, when you reply to our email, just put in there any anomalies or errors that you've spotted. We'll go in and change those, make sure it's corrected, and then at that stage, we'll issue you with the final CAS. And that's where you'll be issued with a CAS number as part of that process as well. But just before we get to that stage, the documents that you can see on screen are the ones that we would require. So that's copies of any academic certificates or transcripts, particularly those that are related to any conditions of your offer. So for example, if you've been asked to supply a copy of your high school graduate diploma within your offer, that's what we need, alongside any other academic qualifications that are detailed in that offer. A copy of your English language qualification, if you're not from a majority English speaking country, that's another thing that we require on this tick list. A scanned copy of the photo page of your passport. So we don't need copies of every single page of the passport. It's just the page that shows your photo and has your passport details on it as well. That's the page that we need there, and that can be emailed over to us. A COVID-19 declaration form that will be sent to you as part of this next steps process. Where applicable, a financial declaration form. So for some of you, depending on the routes that you've applied to, this will be applicable, for others not, but we will make that clear to you as whether or not it is part of the documents that we require. Again, if applicable, if you'll be under the age of 18, so this is probably more for undergraduate students, if you'll be under the age of 18 prior to the 1st of September this year, there is another little form that we just need you to complete. And details of that will be sent over to you as well. And evidence of the £2,000 deposit as well. That's another one of those triggers we need in order to be in a position to issue you with the CAS. All of those documents can be emailed to the relevant teams. So whether you're undergraduate, it's the UG-admissions address you can see there on screen, or if you're a postgraduate applicant, it's the PG-admissions email there as well. You can start sending those documents through now. You don't have to necessarily wait for the next steps email to land in your inbox. What we'll do, as and when you send documents, we'll update your applicant record accordingly, so we know we've received it and we know which documents might be pending. And anything that's outstanding, we'll get in touch with you just as a little prompt as well. And I think pretty much that covers everything. So I'll stay quiet for a moment, hand back over to Harriet, and happy, obviously, towards the end to answer any questions you may have on that as well. Thank you very much.
That's fabulous. Thanks, guys. And of course, you know, with your documentation, if you can bulk it all together and send in one email, then that makes things a bit quicker in terms of our teams uploading everything and getting all your documents in one go. So if you're able to do that, that would be really useful. So we've just talked about paying your £2,000 deposit. That is crucial to getting your CAS. It just lets us know that you definitely do want to come and that we can make the CAS and be assured that you are planning to come. Obviously, the £2,000 is not additional to your tuition fees. It will be knocked off your tuition fees, so it's just part of your tuition fees that you're paying. You should then be getting your CAS, and then you'll apply for your visa. So we'll move on now to Rosa, and I'll hand over.
Thank you, Harriet. So my name is Rosa. I can provide you with advice and support on applying for a student visa. That's what we're going to look at in the next few slides. We're going to look at the type of visa that you need to apply for and how to make that visa application, okay? It should all be quite a smooth process, provided that you follow all the advice that we provide to you. And as all my colleagues have said, if there's anything that you are not clear about, if you are confused about anything at all, do let us know, do contact us, because we can then help you and answer any queries that you have. So the first thing that we will look at is what type of visa do you need to study at Aberystwyth University. You will need to apply for a student visa for courses that are 6 months or more. And I think most of you that are on this call will be studying a course that's 6 months or more. So the type of visa that you need to apply for is a student visa. Your student visa will be issued for the duration of your course. So you only need to apply for one visa, and that visa will cover the whole of your course. But you will be allowed to extend your student visa if, for example, you need to repeat a year. Okay, so if you do need to repeat a year, then you will be able to extend your student visa, and I will help you to do this, and you can do that from here, from inside the UK, and I will provide you with full support to do that. When you're issued with your student visa, you will be allowed to work in the UK for a maximum of 20 hours during term time and full time during any university vacation periods. And then when you successfully complete your courses, you will also be eligible to apply to the new graduate route visa, which allows undergrads and master students to stay in the UK for 2 years after they finish their courses, and PhD students can stay in the UK for 3 years, looking for or starting work. As with all visas, it's really important that you meet all of your visa responsibilities to make sure that you protect your visa. Okay, so that's the type of visa that you will need to enroll on your courses. You need to apply for a student visa. So the next things that we will look at is how to apply for your student visa. The first step that you need to take is to prepare your supporting documents. Before you do anything else, you need to make sure that you've got all of your supporting documents, and we will have a look at that list later on. After you've got all of your supporting documents, then you are ready to start completing the online application form. And the link is on this presentation, which I believe will be sent to you after the session today. You go to that link, you start the online application by creating an account. It's like any other online application. You need to create an account using an email address and creating a password. And you can log in and out of that account. You don't need to complete the whole application at once. You can do bits of it at a time and then complete it later on. I have got a tutorial that you can follow, and there's a link to that here. And that tutorial is basically a step-by-step tutorial which goes through all of the questions that you will be asked on the visa application form, and it tells you how to answer those questions. So once you've submitted the online application, you will be directed at booking an appointment at a visa application centre, and you go to your appointment, and that's where you take your supporting documents. That's when you provide your biometric data, which is basically your fingerprints will be scanned, your face will be scanned, and you will be asked to provide an electronic signature. Okay, all of this will be done at the Visa Application Centre. Some students will be asked to attend a credibility interview. This is not something that you should worry about, but if you are asked to attend a credibility interview, I would advise you to have a look at our visa support and advice pages, and on those pages I have information on how to prepare for the credibility interview. The credibility interview is conducted by the Home Office to check two things really. One is that you are a genuine student, which we know that you are because you would have gone through a whole application process with us. But the Home Office will want to make sure that you are a genuine student. So that means that they may ask you things about your course, about the modules that you will be registering on, about all that you know about Aberystwyth University and other things. And then the second thing that they will be checking is your level of English. So that they will be checking that your level of English is at a level that will enable you to engage with the course that you will be enrolling on. Okay, so like I said, not all students will be asked to attend a credibility interview, but if you are, then my advice is prepare for it by following all of the preparation guidance on the visa support and advice pages. So the only different thing to this is for European students and EEA students. European students do not need to attend a visa application centre. Instead, you will verify your ID using an app. Okay, we're waiting for all the full details from the Home Office on this, but you will be guided to the app from the visa application form. Okay, so EU students and EEA students will not need to attend an appointment. You will use an app instead to verify your identity. So what happens after you apply for your student visa? You should receive a decision on your student visa within 3 to 4 weeks from the date that you attend your visa appointment. If your visa is successful, you will receive a 90-day entry visa on your passport, and that is your permission to enter the UK. Okay, so you will only be allowed to enter the UK within those 90 days. Once you arrive to the UK, you will then need to pick up a biometric residence permit, which we refer to as a BRP, and you pick that up from the post office, which is only about 5 minutes away from campus, and we will give you information on how to do that, okay? And your BRP is your evidence of your right to study in the UK, your right to live in the UK, and your right to access health services in the UK. Your BRP is a very, very important document, okay? So make sure once you arrive to the UK, when you pick up your BRP, look after your BRP, okay? Because that is your basically your evidence that you have a visa to be in the UK. For those students whose visa application is refused, you should contact me as soon as you receive that decision, okay? So if you apply for your visa and your visa application is refused, you need to contact me as soon as possible so that I can provide you with advice, okay? We have extremely low visa refusal rates at Aberystwyth University, and the reason for that is that we go through such a stringent admissions process, and hopefully you have all the information that you need to make a successful visa application, okay? So I'm not expecting any of you to have problems with your visa applications, provided that you follow all the advice. please do not book any travel until you have received your new visa and the Home Office has returned all your documents, okay? So be patient, make sure that you wait until your visa has been granted and then book your travel. Okay, again, the only difference to this is for EU and EEA students, you will not be issued with an entry visa or a BRP. Instead, you will be issued with a digital permission to enter the UK. Okay, so EA and EU students, you don't need an entry visa to enter the UK. You will be issued with a digital permission. Okay, so that's what happens after you've applied for your visa. And these are the supporting documents that I need for you to start preparing from now. There's no reason why you should not start preparing these documents from now on. The sooner you start to prepare them, hopefully the easier it will be once you receive your CAS from the admissions team to start your visa application. The first thing that you need is obviously a passport. Make sure it's not about to expire. We would advise for the passport to be valid for the duration of your course. That's the easiest thing to do. But if your passport is due to expire, we would advise for it to have at least 6 months validity on it. And the reason for that is that it's easier for you to not have to renew your passport whilst you're here in the UK. Much easier for you to have a passport that will last for the whole of your course. If you have had a UK visa before, please have a digital copy of that, a scanned copy of that. You will need your CAS letter, and you will hopefully you know now when and how you will get that CAS letter from the admissions team. And you will need to prepare financial evidence. Okay, now the financial evidence is very important, and this is one of the main reasons why visa applications are refused, is because students don't have the correct financial evidence. You need to make sure that you have £9,207 available to you, which are to cover your living costs here in the UK for the first year of your course, plus any balance on your tuition fees. Okay, so you need to add the balance on your tuition fees to £9,207, and that's the total amount that you need to have available to you for your visa application. You need to make sure that this money has been in your bank account for a minimum of 28 days before you apply for your visa. And for those students that are allowed to bring dependents with you, which are mainly postgraduate students, you need to add the amount of £6,120 per person. Okay, so we will go back to financial evidence later on, but these are the amounts that you need to prepare for your visa application. You also need copies of any certificates or any qualifications that are listed on your CAS. So these are the academic requirements, really. Okay, so you need copies of all those. Some students will need ATAS clearance, and you will know whether you need ATAS clearance as part of the admissions process. Okay, so your CAS will say, and the admissions team will let you know if you need ATAS clearance. And some students will also need a tuberculosis certificate. So there's a link on this presentation. If you have spent 6 months or more in a country that requires TB clearance, then you need to go to a Home Office approved clinic, and you need to request a TB certificate. Okay, so the countries, you'll be able to check if the country that you're traveling from, requires TB clearance from this link. Okay. So all documents need to be saved as PDF copies. Original documents are not needed, apart from obviously your passport, okay? Because that's where your entry visa, for those that will have an entry visa issued, will go on, okay? So those are the supporting documents, and I just quickly need to go back to financial evidence, okay? Some students who are from low-risk countries do not need to submit financial evidence with visa applications, but you still need to prepare the financial evidence in case the Home Office requests to see it at any point, okay? So you can check whether your country of nationality is a low-risk country by going to this link. Okay, so if you come from a low-risk country, you don't need to submit financial evidence, but you still need to prepare it. And a bank statement can be either in your name or in your parents' name. If the bank statement is in your parents' name, you will also need a copy of your birth certificate and a letter of support from your parents. Just remember, if you are from a low-risk country, and if the Home Office requests to see your financial evidence and you don't have that ready, then your visa application will be refused. And that is the reason why we advise all students to prepare financial evidence. Finally, this is the last slide, is we will look at how much it will cost to apply for a visa application. There are two fees that you will need to pay. The first one will be the immigration health surcharge. This is calculated at £470 per 12 months of visa. And this is a payment that you need to make, and it will give you access to all national health services. So that means that if, for example, you need any hospital treatment whilst you are in the UK, you will not need to pay any additional fees to have that hospital treatment, because you would have already paid the immigration health surcharge. Okay, so there's some examples there. So if you're coming on a 3-year, for example, undergraduate degree scheme course, then you will need to pay an immigration health surcharge of £1,645. If, on the other hand, you are here for a 1-year postgraduate master's degree, then you will be paying £705 of immigration health surcharge. The reason why it's slightly higher than 12 months is that when your visa is issued, you will be issued with an additional 4 months of visa after the end of your course, okay? So the Home Office will give you an additional 4 months for you to stay in the UK, wrapping up, doing any resits if you need to do any resits, and you will need to pay a proportion of immigration health surcharge for those additional 4 months, okay? And then the visa application fee is £348, and all those payments, both those payments, are made online, so you just need to make sure that you've got a bank card that can make online payments. That's all that I'm going to go through today. I noticed that, we did notice on the polls that many of you have got worries about applying for your visas, and we completely understand that. There is a lot for you to consider when you are coming to study to the UK, We understand that applying for a visa is stressful. So please make sure that you get in touch with me if you've got any questions at all. That's what I'm here for. And I hope that if you prepare all of your supporting documents, I wouldn't really not expect you to have any problems, okay? So I'll hand over back to Harriet, and then I'll be here still at the end of the session to take any of your questions on visas, okay? Thank you.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Rosa. It's good to go through everything in so much detail as well. And thanks, Andy, for adding a lot of those links into the chat there. So if you want any extra information or some of the references that Rosa put in there, you can find those in the chat. So you can find out about, you know, the list of countries that would need a TB certificate and low risk countries and all those kind of extra bits of information. So a little bit of information about the start of term, September on campus. So teaching will actually begin at the very beginning of October. So Welcome Week starts at the end of September. You'll have been given the date. So it's the end of September that you should be arriving, and then teaching will start, I think it's the first week of October. So we're planning for face-to-face teaching. Here in Wales, we have been doing face-to-face teaching since April. I mean, for us in Aberystwyth, the rates of infection, the rates of COVID-19 have been so low. And I say that touching wood because, you know, we want to keep it that way, of course, but they have remained very low throughout, which is fantastic. So we've felt safe enough and confident enough to return to face-to-face teaching, obviously in a very safe way, in a socially distanced way. The use of extensive cleaning and masks and sanitizer and so on has been used throughout. And we're happy to say there've been no sort of outbreaks or anything like that, which is great. So we feel happy and confident that we can return to face-to-face teaching in September. We will have a well-prepared and socially distanced campus. Obviously, for us here in Aberystwyth, you know, we are surrounded by the sea and the mountains. So there is a lot of fresh air, a lot of space. The university owns a lot of land. Our campuses are extensive, they are spacious, we have a lot of facilities. And we've been able to move some staff members to working from home, like ourselves, so that the offices that we used can then be used for teaching and so on. So there's even more space for teaching to take place on the campus. But I think the main thing to remember with the COVID-19 situation in the UK is that we should have finished with all the vaccinations by the end of July. So I'm happy to say I've had my first vaccine. I think most of my team and my colleagues have all had their first vaccine, and we'll be waiting for the second vaccine in a few weeks. We're vaccinating students now, so anybody between the ages of 18 and upwards are starting to get their vaccinations now as well. So by the end of July, hopefully the whole UK population should have been vaccinated. And then once we get to September, the local health board, so the local sort of health service, has very much said that they will prioritise vaccinating all students at Aberystwyth. So if you're coming from overseas, you will get the vaccination. If you haven't had it already, that is. So you may have already been vaccinated in your home country, in which case you won't need it. Depending on which vaccination it is, I know there will be some vaccinations that actually the UK government would prefer to re-vaccinate, but that list of vaccinations isn't clear just yet. So the vaccinations that we're using here in the UK are the AstraZeneca, the Pfizer, and the Moderna vaccine as well. So the Pfizer is the one that's been rolled out mostly. But we're happy to say that, yeah, the vaccination programme seems to be running well. Everybody who arrives in September and October will be vaccinated. So we don't feel like there's any risk of, the disease getting out of control again, which, fingers crossed, hopefully that'll be the way forward. So when it comes to Welcome Week, we will have various different welcome activities so that you can begin to make friends, so that you can begin to understand the location, you know, where to get different support from, where to get your groceries from. But all of those welcome activities will be adapted to public health guidelines, so making sure that nobody's health is at risk. We'll also be offering support in arriving to Aberystwyth. So each year we do an airport pickup service. So that's an airport pickup service from Birmingham Airport, and we'll be giving you more information about that as the months go on. So be looking to book your flights into Birmingham Airport if you can. If not, then of course there are other ways to get to Aberystwyth. There's trains. You know, if you're feeling like you can afford it, there are taxis, though they are an expensive option. But yes, there will be support in your arrival to Aberystwyth. Now, we'll be offering facilities for quarantine as well, and food provision and so on. And this is what we did last year. So last year we were able to pick up all of our international students from the airport, or those who were arriving on the particular days, and they were self-isolating in the campus accommodation. So we provided bedrooms, food, provisions, and actually entertainment as well to keep people sane through those 2 weeks quarantining. So that was last year. Obviously this year it's a bit different. Hopefully it's only 10 days quarantine instead of 2 weeks, and it depends which country you're flying in from. So you're probably aware there are currently 3 different types of countries. So there's green list countries, which has very few countries on it, amber list countries, and if you're coming from an amber list country, you still need to self-isolate, but you can self-isolate in your accommodation. So that's sort of a lighter touch quarantine. And then there's the red list countries, and if you're coming from a red list country, then you will need to quarantine in a hotel by the airport. So that's all run by the government. You would be allocated a room and all of your food and provision would be delivered to you, but there is a cost of £1,750 for that. Now, at the moment, the university is very keen to support students through that quarantine. So we are hoping that we might be able to manage the quarantine ourselves, but if that's not possible, then we will be looking to provide financial support for students who need to quarantine on the red list, students who are coming through from red list countries and need to quarantine. So we'll hopefully be providing some sort of financial support to those students. Exactly how much has not been decided yet, but there will be something at least. And just to note that the registration deadline is the 15th of October. So that's the date we are looking for all students to be here in the UK to complete their registration with us. And that's within the sort of requirements of your CAS and your visa. So currently you must arrive by the 15th of October. So like I say, that's the state of play at the moment. That's how things are looking right now. It's not unusual for things to change. So we'll keep offering updates. We'll be giving more webinars as we get closer to the time, and we'll give regular updates to you as we go along. And just to remember that, you know, throughout lockdown, our students have been really grateful of the fact that they are surrounded by beautiful scenery and countryside, and that where they haven't been able to go to restaurants or shops or go to each other's houses and socialize together inside, they have been able to go outside, and we're just surrounded by beauty, which is fantastic. And the pictures you've got there in the top left-hand corner is pictures of Snowdonia, which is just to the north of Aberystwyth. You have students having bonfires outside on the beach, just down at the bottom of the town. And certainly through lockdown, there've been a lot of little fires on the beaches, which is really nice to see because people can meet up outside, obviously restricted to the numbers of people who can meet up. But it's been a way at least to get together. The bottom you can see on the left-hand side, that's the town of Aberystwyth, which I'm sure you've seen before. You've got the boardwalk in the on the beaches of Inislas, which again is just north of Aberystwyth. And you know, if you're really bored, you can watch out for dolphins. I'm still waiting to see my first dolphin, but I'm sure I will at some point. So at this point, I'm going to invite Jackie in to talk about her own experience. And yes, I'll leave you to it, Jackie.
Sounds great. I also haven't seen a dolphin yet, but I have seen a sheep. It's unfortunately behind my head, but I saw that from Fern Pengleis. That was the accommodation I stayed in, and I was walking to class one day, and they were just walking right past. So yeah, it was a mommy sheep and 2 little babies. So I took a picture of that. I love that picture. But my personal experience, this won't pertain to everyone. You might have a different experience. I am originally from the USA, so this is a USA to the UK experience. I came over for a postgrad degree in history and heritage. And when I applied in March of 2018, so I was a bit late, and I did it through the direct application portal. I didn't get my final grades or my final transcripts until late June. So I, obviously being in my position now, I know a lot of your concerns are over when you'll get your final grades. How is that going to affect your visa? If you don't get the CAS right away with the first rollout, Dave did say he's hoping to get the drafts within the next week or 2. Don't worry, there is still plenty of time. Like I said, my grades, when I applied, I did not have them yet. I didn't get them till later in June, and I was still able to apply for my visa. As you can see from the screen, I applied for my visa in late July. And when I applied for it, I had all my paperwork. I had been struggling to figure out what I needed. I remember being there. I know what you're thinking. What do I need? Rosa has a wonderful guide. I followed that guide so much. I emailed Rosa. She's a wonderful resource. And I emailed the international office, who then redirected me to Rosa. So there's lots of resources available for you from the university just to help make sure that you have what you need. And they're always willing to help. We understand it's a very difficult process. Once I applied, I did have to travel to get my biometrics done. When you finish your application, you'll get to a screen and you'll be able to select a location. There's usually going to be 5 or 10 listed that are nearby to where you live. Most cases, you might have to travel maybe an hour or 2 if you're not already in a city. For me, I had to travel over to actually where my sister lived, so I made a weekend trip out of it. And as Rosa said, it is where you just go get your fingerprints done. They take a picture of you, and you do an electronic signature. And that's it for the most part. Like I said, each experience is going to be different. That was my experience. It was quick, in, out, 10 minutes. I didn't know if I had done the right thing at first. I thought I still needed to do something, but they were like, no, just go just go mail out all the rest of your documents. So I did that, and then I got the approval in the mail when my passport came back with a little insert inside of it. I did come to the UK a little bit earlier, so I did have that entry visa, so I was able to come in a little bit earlier, so I didn't come on the airport pickup services. I came on my own through the trains, really easy to navigate. And then when I arrived, as Rosa said, you pick up your BRP at the post office. And when you first get here, if you don't know exactly which post office they're talking about, ask Rosa, she will direct you. I think she's even met up with students in the past to help direct us as well. I know it's very overwhelming, especially within your first week arriving. We're all here to help you every single step of the way. Don't feel afraid to reach out because, like I said, that's what we're here for. So these are just some fun pictures of my own personal experience before I had this position. The picture next to the sheep, that is at this hike. It's called Devil's Bridge. It's this 3-bridge system. There's a nice little folk legend about it. There was a little cutout of a Welsh lady in her traditional Welsh dress, and I stuck my head through it, so that's there. And then the bottom right-hand picture, that is Pentry Jane Morgan. So this I actually took from my accommodation. I was in Firm and overlooked Pentry Jane, and then I was able to see the sea in the distance. And on the left, that is my lovely MA dissertation back when we still had to print it. This past year, they were able to just do everything digitally, so able to save some trees, which is nice. So that was my student experience. I just want to tell you about some other things that we have going on to help get you involved, start making connections early. We have a Facebook group. If you're not already on it, go on ahead and like our page, and then the group will be listed. If you just click on groups, you want that Aberystwyth 2021 entry Facebook group. A lot of applicants are already on there. I think there's roughly 250 currently. So if you're not already on it, it's a lovely place to start meeting people who will be studying on your course or are from your country. You can plan flights together. It's great. And I know there's lots of different chats going on right now. We also have our global ambassadors. These are current students who are studying here, representing different countries. They are on that Facebook group to help answer any questions. Then on our Instagram and Facebook, starting this Thursday, we are going to have Aber Thursdays, which is going to be a live Q&A event, so questions and answers, and it will be all day throughout Thursday, so most likely starting in the morning UK time, going until around 5 or 6 o'clock UK time. So if you're not already following us on social media, there's our links on the right-hand side. So we have a Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and you can just follow us there. And if you want the direct link to the Facebook group, if you can't find it, feel free to email us at international@aber.ac.uk, and we'll send you the link. We also have an online open day happening next month. So this is a wonderful resource where you can meet your current lecturers, you can meet with the admissions staff, you can meet with accommodation, current students. The international office will be there. It's a wonderful place just to have a live chat. There's also webinars that take place throughout the day. So if you have any questions, it's a wonderful resource just to go and get everything all in one place. And you could also take a panoramic tour of the campus. So the virtual tour that is on our website, it will also be on that online open day, but there's also some extra videos and tidbits that are just specifically for the online open day. So you can still register for that. It is on the website there on the slide. So the aber.ac.uk/OOD. And I think, yep, Andy's just posted in the chat. So if you want to sign up for that, feel free to follow that. But also happening in July is our next webinar. So we have a series that's going to be happening throughout December each month. So the next one will be in July, and it's talking more about preparing to arrive. So we'll be discussing travel plans, what to bring, what not to bring, welcome week activities, an update on the COVID-19 situation, and so much more. We'll have a couple global ambassadors with us, as well as other staff as well. Then in August, we'll be talking about what to expect when you arrive within your first semester. So we'll have the Student Support Office, the Students Union, which has all the clubs and activities on campus. We'll be talking about life around town, your academic studies, and then hopefully the last update on COVID-19 before you arrive. But if there are any further updates, we'll keep you updated. So these links will be to register will be emailed to you as they come up. They'll also be on our website, on our webinars link, where the past webinar, so this one specifically, the recording will be uploaded onto there as well. And that is our presentation. So I will hand back over to Harriet.
Thanks very much, Jackie. And thanks to all our presenters for all the information. So we're going to turn the chat function back on now. And if you have questions, then please put them into the chat. You'll see as well in the offers section of the webinar platform that there's the link to register for the online open day, which will be on the 7th of July. And like we said, there's a lot of content from our academics, from the academic department and so on. So we've got instant questions coming through, which is fantastic. Davia says, hey, I've just recovered from COVID last week. Oh, sorry to hear that, but very glad you've recovered successfully. Advised not to take the vaccine for the next 3 months due to antibodies. Can I get both doses of the vaccine in the UK? Mm-hmm. And are vaccines compulsory to enter the UK in September? No. So no, the vaccine is not compulsory to enter into the UK. So if you don't have a vaccine, you can still come in. And yes, we will be giving out doses of the vaccine in the UK. So once you register with the doctors, so you'll be given all of that information, you register with the doctor, and then through the doctor, they will invite you to do your vaccine. And it takes 5 minutes. I mean, I went in, they jabbed me, I was out in 5 minutes. It's a really, really efficient process. So it's no problem at all to come through. Next question, I have concerns about the possibility of processing my application without TOEFL score. Pandemic situation is getting out of control. Yes, in India, English proficiency test conducting centres are shut down. Okay, more than happy to introduce language proficiency certificate once the situation gets stabilised. So I would suggest that we have a conversation perhaps outside of the webinar here. This is Harish, because it will depend what other, if you studied in India, it may be that your standard year 12 English would be enough for your entry requirements. I don't know if from the admissions teams, if Dave or Helen has anything to say here on Harish's question, but it may be better just to email your question through to international@aber.ac.uk, Harish. Helen, do you want to add anything to that one, and Dave?
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say, if you hold a standard 12 from one of the boards that we currently accept, then we could look at considering that for you. Or another option might be to consider one of the online tests offered by some of the international language testing providers. So TOEFL, IELTS, Language Cert, they offer tests that you can do from home. So that might be something else you might want to look into. Absolutely, thank you.
There are some questions here. Where do I ask if I have even more questions after this webinar? You can email us, so international@aber.ac.uk, and one of our regional officers or regional managers will get back to you there. You can contact us through Facebook and Instagram. We have a live chat function on the website as well. So do just drop us a line. The recording of this webinar will be sent to you, so you'll be able to access this again. So please do send those through. A question about providing transportation. So for transportation, so there's a question about transportation from red list countries, and we don't have confirmed details on this yet, I'm afraid. What we hope is that we will be able to support your quarantine and take you from the airport to the quarantine hotel. But at the moment, we're not permitted to do that. So at the moment, we're looking at supporting students financially, and you would do the quarantine in the hotel itself. Can we travel to other countries in Europe over the vacation period? Yes, you can. Now, in terms of visas to travel to Europe over vacation period, I'm looking to Rosa for this now because, of course, since Brexit, the Schengen visa still in place? Oh, you're just on mute.
Thank you, Harriet. Yes, Schengen visa is still in place for all nationalities outside of UK nationalities, but there are quite a lot of travel restrictions at the moment to travel outside of the UK. So just, because of COVID, basically. So yeah, we can provide advice nearer the time on that. So if any student wishes to travel outside, they can always contact me and I can provide them with advice nearer the time. I think it's probably a bit too early at the moment to say which countries will have travel restrictions when term starts.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for that. So in terms of, if we were in a normal year, absolutely, yes, you could travel to Europe. Because of COVID, at the moment, it's not, well, you can travel, but you would have to isolate when you get there and when you return. So you'd have to quarantine at the moment. Hopefully by 2022, things might be a bit easier, but we can't predict that right now. Jonas asks, is quarantine still necessary if I have already been vaccinated in my home country? Unfortunately, yes. So even if you've had the vaccine, you still need to quarantine. So you will still need to either self-isolate or quarantine. Hussein says, I applied through UCAS, received conditional offers and required documents through the mail, didn't get a response till now, don't have the option to reply to the offer in UCAS as I'm applying to 4 other universities. Dave, I don't know if you have an answer to that one there. I think you might be on mute still as well.
Sorry, apologies. We're only 18 months into doing this, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to look at Hussein's application and see the status of it. and I will get back in touch with him outside of this session with an update on what I can see on his application, if that's okay.
Great, so we'll get back to you, Hussein. Javier says, from India, red list, could you let me know if the university is sponsoring the quarantine cost? So again, at the moment, we haven't got a sort of confirmed amount of how much we will be able to support, but we do plan to provide some form of support, and we hope to be able to announce this in the next few weeks. So we will be supporting students in some way. Either we'll be taking on the quarantine ourselves, so you don't have to go to the hotel, but we would find another hotel for you, so there would be no cost, or we will be able to support the cost. So, you know, we might be able to put towards 50% of the fees or something along those lines. But we don't have a confirmed decision yet, so we'll just have to wait and see, I'm afraid. Yes, unfortunately, if you've had the vaccine, you still need to quarantine. As a BBSRC funded student, how does financial evidence work in the visa application process? Looking to Rosa.
Hello, Felipe. So if you have, if you're fully funded, so that means that your scholarship funds both your tuition fees and your living costs, then all you need is a letter from your official funders confirming that, and that's fine for your visa application. So if you're fully funded, you just need an official letter from your funders for your visa application. If your funders only fund a proportion of your costs, so for example, if they only fund your tuition fees, then that's fine. You use the letter to cover your tuition fees, but then you would also need to submit a bank statement for the remaining costs. Okay, so yeah, hopefully that's answered that.
Thanks, Rosa. Again, a question about vaccination and isolation. Yes, if you've been, even though you've been vaccinated, you do have to self-isolate or quarantine. And I'm afraid that's not a decision that the university makes, it's a decision that the government makes. Another question, I'm a PG applicant and have accepted my unconditional offer, submitted my decision form, financial form, and paid the deposit of £2,000. When will my CAS be issued? Haven't received a COVID declaration form yet, and do I need to send my passport and IELTS and transcripts because it's not mentioned in the checklist of my offer? I'll hand over to you, Helen, for that one. Oh, also on mute.
I at least have the excuse this isn't my computer, but we're all in the same boat, aren't we, with this mute button? Thank you for your question, Dabir. Great to hear that you've returned your documents and that you've paid your deposit. If you ask if you need to send your other documents, if it's not mentioned on your checklist, then you don't need to send them. I think the best thing for me to do, I've just written your name down, so I too will take this query offline, and I'll go and have a look at your application this afternoon, and hopefully we can move forward with that very soon.
That's great, thank you. A question from Esperanza says, I applied for the accommodation in April. When will I receive confirmation? So provided you've applied, you should be there in your sort of the waiting list of applications. So I'm pretty sure that the announcements come in July. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, usually in the later months of the summer. It's usually the last thing that you're going to get before everything. So you might get your CAS before you find out your accommodation. Oh, yeah, you'll find out your accommodation before you get your CAS sometimes. My situation was a little bit different because I applied later in the year, but you will get your accommodation within the summer. You'll find out what hall you're assigned. You won't find out what room. You won't have your address or anything. You'll get that when you move in.
So what normally happens is, because students, certainly students in the UK, get their high school results in July, then there's this kind of shuffling around period, and then we know exactly who will be coming and who gets their accommodation where and when. So it tends to be in July that you will get your confirmation of accommodation. But I mean, if you've applied for accommodation, you should get the choice that you went for if you've applied already. So you should have applied early enough to get your first choice. not much was said about PG students that may wish to travel with their family. What provisions are available for spouse and dependents? That's a really good question there. I think we'd have to follow up with that one separately as well. I mean, in terms of visas, we do have visa support there for you. In terms of living arrangements, we'd have to look at those issues specifically. So I'm going to make a note of your name, and perhaps we can get back to you after the session. That's Charis there, Caris. Apologies if I've got the pronunciation wrong there. Reshmi says, hello, I'm from India. Due to the pandemic, my board exams are cancelled. My marks will be based on my internal marks and attendance. Will there be any problem? We are very much aware of the delays to high school exams and other exams in India, and we're waiting to see what the sector advice will be. Dave, I don't know if you want to comment on that any further.
Yeah, hi Harry. I think it's as you advised. Yeah, we're waiting for the sector advice on that as well. We would ask, the applicants just keep us informed. Clearly, we want to do everything we can to reassure you, and we will be looking at that sector advice as it comes through. But if you are in a position where you feel you're not going to be able to present your final results in the summer for whatever reason, the advice would be to get in touch with us so that we can discuss that with our colleagues in the visa compliance team.
Yeah, that's great, thanks. A question from Noreen here saying, will there be an online distance learning if COVID-19 is getting worse? Potentially, yes. At the moment, we are very much planning for face-to-face delivery of teaching. Because the vaccination rollout is going so well here in this country, we are happy that we will be able to deliver face-to-face teaching. And provided you're able to travel to the UK, you may need to quarantine depending on where you're coming from. But then the COVID situation it's very much manageable right now. So things are going back to normal here. So we are planning for this return to face-to-face teaching, and it won't be online distance learning. However, I mean, I never predicted a pandemic in the first place, so you never know what's going to happen. You never know what's around the corner. If things do get significantly worse, then yes, we will need to go to online distance learning. That's what we did this year. The first bit of teaching in the first couple of weeks will probably be online anyway, but you do need to be here by the 15th of October. So we're looking to make sure students do come here unless, something happens in the next 2 months, and you just never know what's going to happen. Are COVID tests for students coming from amber list countries free of charge as well? Yes. So if you're coming from an amber list country and you're self-isolating here on the campus here in Aberystwyth, we would be able to provide the COVID tests for you free of charge. For financial documents for the visa, what if you're taking out a student loan to pay for school? Do you just include that paperwork, or should you still have the tuition amount in a bank account? Good question, Ruby. I'm looking at Rosa.
Yeah, hello, Ruby. So if you are taking a loan to cover your costs, that's fine, but it has to be an educational loan. It can't be just any loan. It can't be a personal loan. If it's a personal loan, then you cannot use it for your visa application. It has to be an educational loan. So the best thing might be to just contact me, and I can check that the loan that you are taking out meets the requirements for your visa application. And I can also check if there are any conditions attached to that loan which may not make it appropriate for your visa application. Please do get in touch with me, and I can check whether the loan that you're taking out will be fine for your visa application.
Thanks, Rosa.
No problem.
Next question about, do we have to get the vaccine? That's a really good question. No, you don't have to get the vaccine. The UK is not a country which we're not forcing anybody to get the vaccine. Nobody, is being restricted by anything if they don't have the vaccine. However, we are strongly recommending that people do get the vaccine. but I mean, ultimately the decision is yours. It depends how you feel about it. So you don't have to get the vaccine if you don't want to. Cameron says, I remember some mention of discounts for the financial proof on the visa applications for things like accommodation. Is that the case? Related, that would be, what would be the earliest we could arrive in the UK and still move into accommodation? For example, if we fly in early September, would we be limited to personal accommodation until dorms open? Okay, so a few questions in there. In terms of discounts on accommodation for the visa, now I don't think it's all to do with what your CAS reflects. So what's detailed in your CAS. So I don't think that there's a way that we can reduce the amount of money needed through your CAS. I'm looking at Rosa actually to explain this better than I'm doing so myself.
Okay. Yeah, no, I understand, I think. So if you are taking up the accommodation offer and you're not paying any accommodation fees, then you cannot deduct any amounts from your financial evidence. If you are taking the second option and getting a discount for your accommodation and then paying any of the difference in accommodation fees, and that amount that you actually physically pay for your accommodation fees can be discounted from your financial evidence up to a certain amount. And top of my head, that is £1,600, something like that. But please do not quote me on that. I can check on the exact amount, okay? So I hope that makes sense. So if you are physically paying for any accommodation fees, then you can discount that from your financial evidence up to a certain amount, and I'll have a quick look at what that certain amount is. It will be on the web pages, okay? So I'll check on that now, but also Harriet may add to this, but in terms of when you can arrive to the UK, in terms of your visa, the Home Office will allow for you to arrive to the UK about a month before the start of your course or before the start of your planned date of coming into the UK. They'll give you about 4 weeks in which to arrive before the start of your course. But Harry may want to add on when accommodation will be available to students.
That's great. Thank you, Rosa. And yes, in terms of moving into your accommodation, at the moment, it is likely that we will have 2 airport pickups. So there will be one just before term start, so one at the end of September and one a bit earlier, probably around mid-September. So if you're able to arrive in that mid-September date, the dates are still to be confirmed, so we will let you know as soon as possible. Then we would have accommodation available for you to move into then. If you do have to self-isolate, you could do it in the accommodation there. If you want to come earlier, then yes, you would probably have to find some sort of accommodation. We do have accommodation available on the campus, but we'd have to look into it on a case-by-case basis because we need to see what's available. And if you would need to self-isolate, then we would need to put that into place. So I'd say it's probably going to be sort of mid-September would be the earliest, but it might be possible a bit earlier. But if you send us an email, we can find out about that particular instance.
Hi, Harry. Sorry, I've just checked up on the amount as well. So if you make any physical payments towards your accommodation fees, you can deduct the amount of £1,265 from your financial evidence. The reason why I don't normally go into so much detail is that from my perspective, it is better if you overestimate your financial evidence, Okay, because remember, your financial evidence needs to be available to you for a period of 28 days at the correct amount. So it's always better to have more financial evidence that is required just in case there are any problems. Okay, so that's the reason why I don't normally mention it. But yes, if you make any physical payments to your accommodation, you can deduct £1,265 from your financial evidence.
That's great, thank you. The next question, I sent my acceptance of conditional offer without filling all the requirements. Should I receive a response that confirms my acceptance? Good question, Dave or Helen. Do students tend to get a sort of confirmation email once they've sent through the offer reply form or accepted an offer?
Hello. Hi. Sorry. We don't tend to do it well. It depends on which route the individuals come through. But if they've had an offer reply form, it's probably that they're direct or common app. So we would normally acknowledge receipt of the email. The other thing it will do is trigger the next steps email that I referred to in the presentation. So if somebody has returned the offer reply form and accepted the place, they will receive the next steps email from us over the next 7 days or so.
Fabulous. So if you've
I was just going to say, sorry, I was just going to say, if you're a postgraduate applicant, it's not quite clear there. You say you haven't fulfilled all the requirements, then obviously we'd encourage you to do the rest of those as soon as you can. But yes, you should have received an acknowledgement to your email. I have jotted your name down just so I can go and check on our records as well, just to see what's happened there if you happen to be a postgraduate applicant.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Helen. Maria asks, I'll be able to get the first dose before arriving, but I won't get the second dose before leaving Norway. Would I then be able to get the second dose in Wales and then the same vaccine? Provided that first dose was either AstraZeneca, Pfizer or Moderna, it shouldn't be a problem to get that second dose. That should be fine, and that's obviously the same vaccine. If it's a different kind of vaccine, then you'll be able to speak to the health board. You'll be able to speak to the doctors when you get here, and they can work out what to do. But I'm sure there will be a solution to getting that second dose. I applied directly to the school, but haven't gotten any offer yet. Blessing, I think we're going to have to just look into your details and try and get a message back to you as soon as possible. Thanks for that. Jonas, yes, you can rewatch the webinar. You'll get a link to the recording so you can watch it whenever you want, and it will also be on the website, so you'll be able to see it. And anybody will be able to see it. For financial evidence, do we need the full tuition in a bank account, or can we pay in instalments? I think it all needs to be in a bank account.
Yeah. So yes, for your financial evidence, your tuition fees need to be in a bank account. Your first year's tuition fees need to be in a bank account. But to pay your tuition fees, they are paid to the university in instalments normally, and that's 3 times a year.
That's great, thank you. Next question was, I already sent my documents and £2,000 deposit for the unconditional offer on the 4th of May. More than a month has gone past, and when do I get my unconditional offer? How many days will it usually take to receive a CAS? It sounds like you have the evidence for the unconditional offer. I think we'll have to again look into your details separately, but thanks to you. Apologies for the bad pronunciation there. But CASs should be being issued, I think, in the next couple of weeks. Is that right? Yeah, Helen and Dave.
Sorry, certainly, yeah. On the undergrad side, we'll be looking where we have all the documentation in place for an applicant to start issuing them as soon as we can. Really, I'm not too sure whether this individual is undergraduate or not. I just did a quick check and I couldn't find an undergraduate record, but that's not to say they aren't undergraduate. This is a more broader point for applicants. If you meet the conditions of your conditional offer, we won't then issue you with an unconditional offer letter. We just issue you with the next steps of the process in order to get you to the stage where we can get a CAS sorted for you. So yeah, please don't expect a different offer letter. It's just merely the next steps of the CAS process that we'll be in touch about. But I've jotted the name down, as I'm sure Helen has, and between us we can work out whether it's postgrad or undergrad.
That's great, thank you. I think the next question is about when you're expected to be in Aberystwyth, and when, well, firstly, when CAS numbers will be issued. They'll be issued in the next couple of weeks, provided you met all the relevant requirements, and you're expected to be in Aberystwyth. Teaching starts the first week of October, but Welcome Week will be from I'm just looking now, the 27th of September. So the 27th of September is when there's Welcome Week. So there's no teaching, but it's kind of like a settling in week. And then teaching will start from the 4th of October. The latest you can arrive is the 15th of October. So try and make sure that you are here before then. Next question from Jeremiah, is my deposit fee inclusive in my tuition fee? Yes. Can you give me a view of the amount of what I'll pay as enrolment fee upon arrival to the university? Well, I think depending on whatever your tuition fees are, I mean, they tend to be roughly sort of £15,000 or so. If you take the £2,000 that you've paid already off, so you've got roughly 13,000, and then I think that can be split into 3 instalments. So I'm doing the maths here, about £4,500 would be the first instalment. I'm looking to my colleagues for nods of yes, that sounds about right. Thanks guys. Yeah, so around £4,500 would be your first payment. Then you would pay another £4,500 and then another £4,500. So you can pay in 3 instalments if you want. Benny says, I've been trying to pay the deposit via the online payment portal for a week. Oh no, sorry. But the website says the details supplied could not be validated. Please check your application ID, date of birth. I think we'll have to follow up separately, Benny. So we'll try and get back to you about that deposit payment. Does the immigration health surcharge for postgrad students cover for their dependents? Good question. It's not, and if not, what's the additional cost? I think there is an additional cost, but I'll leave it to Rosa to clarify on that.
Hello. So yes, every dependent will need to pay an immigration health surcharge, and it will be at the same rate that your health charge is paid at. So every dependent will need to pay that.
Thank you. How long do I have to send my financial declaration form? I'm awaiting the result of my scholarship application. I mean, there's no specific deadline for you to send the financial declaration form, but what you've got to remember is that you're going to need enough time to get your CAS and enough time to then apply for your visa before needing to be here. So if you think your visa is probably going to take about 6 weeks or so, you need to be here by the end of September. So you should have started applying for your visa by mid-August. So, really by the end of July should be the latest that you're sending us these documents. Again, I'm looking to my colleagues for a, yes, that sounds about right. Yeah.
Harriet, sorry, could I just come back in answer to Benny's question, or just as a follow-up? If Benny wouldn't mind just in the chat saying whether he's a postgraduate or undergraduate applicant, and if it's undergraduate, how you applied, so whether it was through UCAS or Common App. My suspicion is if you've applied through Common App and on reading of your message you said you haven't returned the offer reply form, you won't yet have been allocated an application number, which may be the reason preventing you from paying the deposit. So yeah, if you could just provide a little bit more detail, then we can look into that one as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Do I have to fund for 28 days before I get my CAS? I guess that's in relevance to the financial evidence. And Rosa's nodding that the answer is yes.
Yeah, so if you're not a student from a low-risk country, then we would expect you to have the necessary funds for 28 days before we issue a CAS.
That's great, thank you. Sutrik says, the visa information really helped. And I agree, thanks Rosa. Need to take a six-week pre-sessional course, and it will end at on the 10th of September. Good. We'll double check that date in case that was a question there. But in terms of visas and so on, so the pre-sessional courses will be online, of course, this year. So you'll have your sort of offer made once you've completed the 6-week pre-sessional course, and you should be able to get your visa in time. Dave or Helen, or anybody, I don't know if you want to add anything there.
Can I just add something? So for students, my advice would be for those students that find that they are, that they still have not been able to apply for their visas in September, then some visa application centres do offer a priority service. So if you have not applied for your visa by, I would say, end of August, start of September, then definitely our advice is to use the priority service. There is an additional fee, but it's not a huge fee. I mean, it's about £150, okay? But it means that you will get a decision within about 5 working days. Okay, so hopefully by using the priority service, you would still then be able to be here in Aberystwyth for the start of term. Okay, so this might apply to that question where the student is saying, my pre-sessional course won't end until the 10th of September, because it sounds as that's like that student will have quite a short time in which to apply for their visa and be here for the start of term. So definitely find out if your visa application centre provides a priority service, and you'll be able to do this when you apply for your visa.
The only other point I'd reiterate there as well is try and get all of the other bits of the jigsaw together and send over all the other documents to us, so that we've got all of those ready to go and we're just waiting for that pre-sessional result. And once we get that result, we're in a good position to get the draft sent out pretty soon thereafter.
Yes, absolutely. So get everything else in line. What's the procedure for deferring admission as a result of bureaucratic delay from sponsorship organisation? Well, if that is the case, then if you just drop us a line, an email to let us know that you want to defer to the next year, then that should be okay. How are part-time job opportunities at Aberystwyth at the moment? I mean, I think they're looking okay right now. I'm going to leave it to Jackie to explain.
Yeah, so especially during the summer months or the vacation, there's going to be lots of part-time job opportunities available in cafes and shops, because Aber's a tourist destination during the holidays. So you'll always have part-time jobs in cafes and shops, and that also then extends throughout the school year. So in town, those cafes, shops, but on campus, we also have a student job platform called AberWorks, and that's where you can find jobs that you're working with administration staff as an Aber worker. I know admissions has had a couple Aber workers in the past, and I started off in the international office as an AberWorks employee, and there's various positions on there. So when you get to campus, I definitely recommend signing up for that, because then it's just a little drop down menu saying, yes, I want this job, no, I don't want this job, and then they'll call you in.
Exactly. Thank you. Yes, there's quite a lot of part-time job opportunities going on right now. And of course, with your visa, you can work up to 20 hours per week. So that's useful to remember. Should we arrive 2 weeks before the start date? So there's Speranza. You can arrive just 1 week before the start date. So the teaching start date is the 4th of October. Welcome week is the 27th of October. We're likely to be doing an airport pickup on the sort of Thursday and Friday before that. So that would be the 23rd and the 24th of September, and potentially then sort of in mid-September as well, but we don't have those exact dates yet. We hope to have the exact dates in the next couple of weeks, so we'll let you know as soon as possible. Can you please issue the CAS earlier? I'm afraid I won't get my visa before school starts. We'll be sending out those CASs as soon as possible. It's partly down to sort of the UKVI decisions and that sort of affects when we can issue the CASs. I don't know if Dave or Helen want to add anything to that.
No, I think that's covered. Yeah, as long as we've got all the documents there and we're in a position to send out the draft, we will be doing that as soon as we can.
What financial aid is available at Aberystwyth for students from less developed countries and low family incomes? I mean, of course, there is the International Accommodation Award, which is there to help students with to cover the cost of accommodation. And that's available for all international students. There are lots of different scholarships available as well, so it depends which programme you're looking to apply for. We don't have sort of specific financial aid for students from particular countries, though, but there are various different scholarships that you can apply for. Lauren says, what does the letter need to all include? But I'm not sure. I think we might need a bit more detail on that question, I'm afraid, Lauren. Dak says, hello, I'm from the US, but because I'm homeschooled and College Board discontinued SAT subject tests, I wasn't able to get those done. I was told that community college classes could replace that, and if that's the case, do I need to send the college transcript or my high school transcript, which include those college class grades, or both? I'm looking at Dave and possibly Jackie for personal insight.
Both, yeah. If you could send both through, that'd be great. We are aware of the changes to the SATs this year, so yeah, we are taking those into consideration as well. So yeah, the more information you can provide, the better, really. So yeah, any transcripts or certificates, whether HSGD or college credits detailed on there, send them over to UG Admissions, and I can take a look at them at that point. Jackie, sorry.
No, I covered it.
Brilliant, thank you. Kalhara says, where can I find the financial declaration form? I'm guessing that's to be emailed to you.
Yeah, that'll come through as part of the next steps if we require it.
Fantastic. So yes, if you need to fill out the financial declaration form, it will be emailed to you. As Dave says, you'll get this final, the next steps email at undergraduate level, and then that will ask you for all the documentation that we need to then issue your CAS. How do I get the COVID declaration form? Will that come through the next steps email as well, Dave? Yeah, so it'll all come out to you in the same email. What financial aid and scholarships are available for students? Oh, I think we've done that one already. I want to apply for accommodation, but I'm being asked of my CAS, which I don't have. Please, what do I do? You shouldn't need your CAS for your accommodation application. So you should be able to just apply for accommodation with your student number. You don't need your CAS to apply for accommodation. But if you have more issues, then drop us an email and we'll try and sort that out. I see. So Fania Shu has explained that because she's doing a 6-week pre-sessional course, it'll end on the 10th of September. Can you get the CAS earlier? I mean, I think you have plenty of time. And as Rosa and the rest of the team said, if you go for the priority service visa, then that will get things through much quicker. So we'll issue the CASs as quickly as we can. As we all know, people who come from most countries in the world need to quarantine at home for 10 days. Yeah. And the courses start on the 27th of September, should international students arrive at the university around the 17th in advance. So the courses don't start until the 4th of October. And as far as I'm aware, some of the kind of first week will be online anyway. But you do need to make sure that you're here by the 15th of October, which is the absolute latest deadline for registration. Like I said before, we will be running an airport pickup service. probably on the 23rd and 24th of September. So that would give you time to self-isolate for 10 days and then join classes sort of on the 4th. But we will probably have another airport pickup earlier in September. So, I mean, if you want to arrive sort of the 16th, 17th of September, that's fine. There's no problem with that. But just have a look at when the airport pickup dates are if you want to take advantage of the airport pickup service. But if you did arrive on the 17th, then that's, you know, there's no problem with that. I'm currently registered in a Canadian university and wish to study abroad in Aber. Where can I get information about exchange programs? That's a good question, Noah. So we have a team called Global Opportunities who are able to give you information about studying for just a semester or a year as an exchange student. We'll try and get the web link out to you. Hopefully Andy might be able to pop that in the chat. Part-time job opportunities. Yep, there are various different part-time job opportunities that you can take advantage of. Sai says, I've applied for the Global Wales Scholarship last week. Fantastic. Does the university look at the personal statement and other details of my master's application for processing the scholarship application, or do you process it based on my scholarship application only? How much time will it take to inform the outcome of the scholarship? Well, I think the deadline is the 20th of June for that one. So we will be looking to make decisions within a week or so. So I think we should be able to get decisions about the scholarships sort of by the end of June. And in terms of the criteria, we mainly look at the details in your scholarship application. So it's the information that you provide us with in the scholarship application. I'm an undergraduate applicant and I've submitted my deposit documents and passport, but I did not get any reply. Will I get an email on pending documents that I need to submit? So Dave, I don't know if you want to look into that one perhaps. Yeah,
that'll be covered off in the next steps email when that comes out. So you should have received an autoresponder when you made the deposit payments because that's linked to our financial systems. But yeah, any documents we're still pending we'll detail in the next steps email when that comes out.
Excellent. I've made my deposit, waiting for my CAS. So we'll, like we've said, we'll start issuing them in the next couple of weeks and you will receive an email asking for any final documentation. So we should be able to kick things off pretty soon. Jonas says, if I choose the free accommodation offered to international students, but if it's full, is the discount still only £2,000 for the other accommodation? And is there a closing date on applying for the free accommodation? So if you're choosing the free accommodation, you should be able to get that accommodation. So if it fills up, then we would be able to put you into a different halls of accommodation, but we should be able to honour that free accommodation. So, you know, like I say, I think it's almost 100% certain that you will definitely get that free accommodation. I think it's very unlikely that you would be offered the discounted £2,000 accommodation. And if that is what happens, then we'll need to look into that. I've been struggling with applying for accommodation and receiving the documentation for visa application since I have received an official letter of acceptance. And this is a student from South Africa. We might need to get a bit more information from you. McKelly? Again, apologies for my bad pronunciation. And sort of what's the problem there with the accommodation and the visa application documentation. So if you drop us an email, international@aber.ac.uk, we should be able to help. If students coming from red list countries need to be quarantined in a hotel, will it be managed by Aber in terms of booking and fees, etc.? If it is managed so if there are no changes, so the situation right now is that you quarantine in a hotel which is managed by the UK government. So we have nothing to do with the management of it. You would need to book into the hotel, pay the fees. We hope that we will be able to help you with those fees. So you wouldn't need to pay the full amount. We would be able to help you. That's what we hope, but there's no sort of confirmation yet. We will be confirming everything soon. Yes, so it's sort of, you'll just need to hold off and wait to hear what the decision is finally. Lauren says, on my application, oh, thanks Lauren, on my application it said that if I'm planning on taking US federal loans, I did not need to pay the £2,000 non-refundable deposit. That's correct, I think. And if I end up not taking the federal loan, would I need to pay that? I think that's a yes as well, yeah. Thanks. What if we wish to arrive earlier and finish out quarantine before the 27th of September? So yes, that should be fine. Again, we're going to confirm the airport pickup dates as soon as possible. So there should be one on sort of the 23rd and 24th of September, and then one earlier than that as well. So if you want to do your quarantine before the 27th of September when you start, you should be able to. Can I apply for accommodation before submitting the documents mentioned in the conditional offer? You need to have accepted your offer. Provided you've accepted your offer, you should be able to apply for accommodation. I saw on the UK government website that TOEFL is no longer accepted for the visa. Should I take IELTS even if I've taken the TOEFL? TOEFL should be accepted for your visa, I think. I don't know, Rosa, if you have any extra information on that.
I'm probably not the best one to answer this. It will be admissions because it's part of the sort of academic requirement.
I mean, I'm pretty sure TOEFL is still accepted.
I think we list it on our, our accepted list of qualifications. So yeah, if it's on there, then we're able to accept it.
Yeah, I mean, TOEFL is very much a worldwide recognised English language exam. So I don't think that the UK government would stop accepting TOEFL. So I think that should be fine. COVID-19 declaration form, that will be emailed to you. I've paid the deposit, want to know how many instalments, can I pay the remaining amount? Could you provide the timeline too? So we do have information about making the payments. We'll try and send the website through to you, but essentially, and perhaps Andy's able to pop the link to sort of making instalment payments, but you pay your deposit and then the rest of your fees will be divided into 3 amounts. So you pay one in September, one in, I think it's January, and then one in sort of April time. Dominique says, hello, if it's possible, can you all shed some light on the tuition instalment plan and what's the time frame? Fantastic. So hopefully Andy may be able to add that. He might have done that already. If so, thanks, Andy. For students under sponsorship, and the £2,000 deposit is meant to be paid early before CAS is issued. What's the option for sponsored students? So I think, it depends what your sponsorship is. It depends what your scholarship is. And if there is a sort of official organisation which is paying the entirety of your fees, then you don't need to pay the £2,000 deposit. There is more information about that on the website, so we'll try and send that through to you. Natalia says, my father will be coming up with me for Welcome Week. Seychelles is currently on the red list. Will he be permitted to enter the UK? How long is quarantine? Also, twin sister should be starting in Plymouth. So a few questions in there about the Seychelles. So if you and your father are both coming to the UK, both of you will need to quarantine. Currently, quarantine is costing £1,750 and you'll need to quarantine in a hotel. What the university decides to do will be confirmed soon. We may be able to help you with your fees. We wouldn't be able to help your father. If you need to quarantine and then visit Plymouth, and then once you've quarantined, gone to Plymouth, and then you come to Wales, that's absolutely fine. You don't need to quarantine again. So once you're in the UK, you can then travel around the whole of the UK, so that's fine.
Can I just add something? Hello, Natalia. I'll get back to you. I think you've sent me some information by email as well. I think you need to consider the following. So students who have been granted a student visa who are coming from a red list country will be allowed to enter the UK. Okay, but if your father needs to apply for a visitor visa to enter the UK, those visitor visas at the moment are not being processed. Okay, so you will need to consider that. Okay, so you can contact me for further information on that. So I would not expect you as a student who has been granted a student visa to have a problem entering the UK, even if you're coming from a red list country. But it may be an issue for your father to come to the UK at the moment because of COVID. Okay, so I can provide more information on that if you require it.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Rosa. Thanks for picking that up. Absolutely. With a student visa, it's not a problem to travel. Without some sort of visa, then you can't travel. You're right. If you're from a red list country. Do we have to choose our modules before starting in September? I don't think so, no. You should get an idea of what modules are there and you can begin thinking about them, but I think it's later on that you actually choose those modules. For financial evidence, do I need to have the money for the tuition fee for 1 year or the whole 3 years? Just for 1 year. Yeah, thank you. I'm a postgrad applicant. Oh, Benny says postgrad applicant and has applied through Common Portal, so direct entry, I guess. We'll look into that, Benny, and find out what the issue is. John says about financial evidence, the slide said £9,207 plus the balance of tuition fees. Does that mean that I need both my tuition fees for the first year and the £9,207 in my account? It does. Yes, it does, John.
Yes.
And to follow up on the financial evidence, how strictly is it required? For example, if I'm $400 US off, would you be rejected for that? I'm looking at Rosa.
Okay, so Cameron, I think we might have met before, if I recall correctly. So if you are from a low-risk country, and the US, for example, is a low-risk country, then you won't need to submit financial evidence with your visa application, but you do need to prepare it because the Home Office may randomly select your application to check that you've got the correct financial evidence. And at that point, if you don't have the financial evidence, your visa application will be refused. Okay. So yes, if you're out by, it says $400 US, yeah. If you are out by $400 US and the Home Office requests to see your financial evidence, then your visa application will be refused.
Thanks, Rosa. Maria says that she chose to do the entrance exams, and will she get feedback on those, and when can she expect this to happen? I'm just trying to double check the time, sort of when the results are announced. Does anybody else know when the entrance exam results are coming out?
I think it's later this month, like mid-June. But it should be on the entrance exam website if you want to check that, Maria.
I'm just having a look. Yeah, we'll try and get that answered ASAP. Chanma says, MSc, I responded to the school on my acceptance, but didn't get any acknowledgement. I even paid. Please, I need my CAS. Help me. I like the message. As we sort of said, you should be getting an email in the next week or so, which is about sending us all the documents that you need to then get your CAS, and then we'll be sending out the CASs shortly. So it's coming. It's on its way. And I've just seen those links that Andy put in the chat there. Thank you very much for those. If we arrive earlier, can we get accommodation after having served our quarantine period? For example, if we finish quarantine by the 23rd or 25th? Yes, absolutely, you can. If a postgraduate gets into court Mauer, will it be possible to renew extend the licence for 11 more weeks till the course completes? Yes. So, if you are a postgraduate student and you're in court Mauer, then you should have a 50-week licence. So you should be there over the summer anyway. In some cases, you may need to change location through the summer, but you will get that. Can I pay all the 3 instalments via international bank transfer? Dabir, yes, I think you can. You should be able to. And I think that's the end of the questions there. So we don't have an answer for you, Maria, about the entrance exams and when you'll get the results out, but we'll try and get that to you ASAP. We can find out with the lady who runs the sessions. Wonderful. Well, I think if there are no other questions, then if you think of something later down the line and you want to drop us an email, please do. Again, it's international@aber.ac.uk. Or if it's to do with admissions, we have UG admissions or PG admissions, and the immigration advice if you want to talk about visas at all. And apologies that there's a lot of information we're giving you at this point, and some of it's still to be confirmed, with the issue with red list countries and all of those kind of things. But we will be letting you know as soon as those decisions are made, and we know that you're looking to plan your travel and you want to know exactly what's happening. So we'll try and get as much information to you as possible. And yes, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you all here today, and we hope that the session has been informative. And hopefully we'll see you in September, October time. We can all have that ice cream on the beach. Fantastic. Thanks so much. Bye, everybody.